7 o'clock having occurred, welcome to the October 2nd meeting of the Mendocino Historic Review Board. We came together as a board, opened our meeting at 4:30 p.m. for our one-site visitation, and then adjourned, and now we're reopening it for the full meeting. So, Planner Jesse Wallman, can you please conduct roll call?
And Planner Wolfman, Chair Rock,
Here.
Holly Madrigal, here. Alan Sanders,
Here.
Paul Kapler,
Here.
and Ishvi
Here.
And then for the record, we have Planner Mark Pfizer is in attendance, who is presenting, and myself, Jesse Waldman, acting as secretary for MHRB this evening.
And Director Krog is in the room as well.
Director Krog is present in the room, but she is only available for one item should there be questions from the board, and so it's as if she is just
For the record,
for the record.
She's here for the first
here,
time.
but not.
she's here, we'll be leaving early, yes. Got it. In qualified hands. Has this meeting been properly noticed?
Yes.
Thank you. We go to the minutes. This is item number 4, this is July 10th action minutes, which we had at our last meeting and continued because there are a number of corrections. Have we all reviewed them? Are there any additional corrections?
Nope.
Items? I do have one, and this goes to item 9C, and it's the third to last paragraph,
On page 3 or
page 5.
5. Yes.
Review board discussed whether or not they would consider blah, blah, blah. It goes to the second sentence, Chair, I'll summarize options for review board and express concern about a tie vote since there are only 4 members present. If you can add, which would result in denial of the requested extension. Just for clarification purposes. In case not everyone understands what a tie vote means.
Which would, may I repeat that, Chair?
Yeah.
Which would result in denial.
Of the requested act extension. Referring to the tie vote. That's all I have. Motion to approve minutes is amended.
I make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second that.
So, moved by member Ong, second by Saunders. All in favor, signify with a verbal yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one question.
Yeah.
When can we expect the September minutes?
Thank you. If I may, through the chair, staff was not able to get to all of the minutes, and all of the different reports due, and so I expect to have, staff expects to have minutes for this meeting and September at the next hearing. So that would be November.
And maybe in October as well.
For this meeting in October currently, and September hearing for the goal for November. Yes.
Thank you. All right, agenda item 5, correspondence. Has been any correspondence received for items not on the posted agenda?
No.
I think we have.
Well, I have a correspondence,
Wasn't
yeah,
There was one memo
There
from
was
somebody
one
about
memo.
the,
process.
From John Kavanaugh?
So,
There's,
sorry, the correspondence, that hasn't, if I may, through the chair.
Yes.
Okay, so under correspondence, we did have the correspondence letter from the Board of Supervisors, as well as the minutes from the Board of Supervisors, and then, there was an email about that information from Kavanaugh that was also posted, and then there's also correspondence that is part of public expression, and that is wrongly stated in the outline.
Okay, so the,
This is all in this packet, yes, that was on our,
That's the discussion about the hotel.
No.
There was a.
the email from Mr. Kavanaugh, I believe is president, that goes under public expression?
Correspondence,
It is in correspondence.
yes.
Okay. So would you like to summarize what we have that's coming?
Sure.
Please?
I apologize for the confusion.
That's okay.
So in the packets, would you like me to present it?
Yes, please.
Under Waldman, for the record, so this is regarding the Board of Supervisors. There's been a letter written by Director Krog to your attention today about the Board of Supervisors meeting that was held on September 12th here in the town of Mendocino, where the Board of Supervisors has directed the Planning and Building Services to deprioritize enforcement of restaurant tents, as well as directed, the board has also directed staff to facilitate collaboration between Mendocino City Community Services District, Mendocino Historical Review Board, the California Coastal Commission, and State Water Resources Control Boards for tent policies. In addition, the Board of Supervisors has directed Planning and Building Services to inform the review board, that the Board of Supervisors supports tents within the historical district and advises they are compatible with the historical district. And the last part is that the policies that the board has asked Planning and Building Services to prepare are under preparation, and there will be further direction and correspondence and engagement with you as the review board from Planning and Building Services when the time comes, when we have all the policies and a summary of what we're approaching, so there can be more collaboration. So that is the first correspondence item.
So how will that take place, if I can ask a question? How will that discussion take place on the policies? Will that be in this meeting at some point?
So it could be in this meeting, it could be a collaboration meeting that's held as a special hearing. We are working on all of that with our Board of Supervisors, with our county council, and it's all kind of under construction at this moment. But there will be much discussion in the future to come, in the next year, less than the next year.
Because as written, I mean, all we do is, we're a historical review board, so we look at tents in terms of how they look, and the Board of Supervisors has said they fit within the historical purview of a historical fit inside the town. So effectively, that statement says we have nothing to do with tent permits. So is that going to get fleshed out? I mean, that's what that statement tells me. If a tent permit came here, I have to accept it because the Board of Supervisors is going to override me anyway. And that's the only thing we worry about is the look of the tents. So that's what that says. I never want to see another tent permit. and for lots of different reasons, but that's what that statement says. So is that going to get fleshed out in some way?
So we're working on some policies with collaboration between different agencies at this time, so I don't have an answer for you at this time.
and sorry, I did just want to clarify that sort of jumped out at me as well. I was aware that we were deprioritizing. I wasn't able to be at the whole thing, but I'm surprised that they're advising that it's compatible with the history. I'm surprised at that language.
It was actually part of the,
Motion?
it's part of the language of the agendized item.
I mean, what is that? Sorry, I don't want to get into it now necessarily, but what is that based, like, what is that based on, that it's
When the
meets
board-
historical?
When the board agendized this,
Yeah,
the wording of the agendized item,
That's the motion, it's in the motion.
it's not even a motion, it's in the agenda item itself, the way it was
and that they're
posted.
compatible
In the direction of planning and building services informed
in
Mendocino
the
Historic
historic district.
Review Board that the Board of Supervisors supports tents within the historic district, advises they are compatible with the historic district. So that was the wording of the agendized item
Fascinating.
before discussion before
Right.
presentation, before public hearing.
So I should talk to Supervisor Williams about what he based that on.
And that's what I believe
Right.
that the policies that we are
Okay.
working on with our department, with planning and building
Yeah.
services, and then coordinating with other agencies, I think that that will all come out
Okay.
in the future, and we're working on that as these directions have come from the board. So it takes time for the collaboration and preparation of all that to then be represented back to the board.
Right. Because I disagree. I completely understand why it's being deprioritized, down with all that. I would disagree that they're historically compatible. That's just,
And that's for us to make a determination.
Well, no,
We're
it's
not.
not. Bad.
Well, don't say we
Yeah.
we are appointed by the board of supervisors, but we are an independent body. So we make our decision, and if an applicant doesn't agree with it, they can appeal to the board of supervisors.
Who already have said they agree that if it's in the historic district, so why would I bother?
we'll see what comes up.
Okay, all right.
Am I right in understanding this is only 1 year?
Yes.
This
Yes.
is only for 1 year, so they're only going to fit within the historic district for 1 year. At which point they'll no longer
We
be
clearly
compatible.
have to express our views.
That's why we're here.
And if they want to disagree with our views, well, you know, they can take it up on appeal, which I think has been done with the decision we made at the last meeting. So, and then it's up to them to vote on that, but I think we have to express our views first.
I agree. Otherwise, why are we here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Great, thank you.
All right.
Shall I just go over the public expression that was submitted by Kavanaugh?
Yes, please.
Okay?
He's
So,
here.
I understand.
there was an email submitted to our office on the Friday, September 29th from the Kavanaughs, and that has been supplied for you in your packets. And if you have any questions about specific points in that email, I'd be glad to address it one at a time.
And should the person who wrote this email wish to come in front of our board during public expression, that would be allowed?
Public expression, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes. The last item I'd like to just bring to your attention is that there is a Mendocino City Community Services District Board of Directors meeting tomorrow in this same very room at 5 p.m. And there is an item on their agenda for public expression regarding tents and water usage. And they have invited anybody to come to that meeting.
Will that be recorded as this one is?
That is not a county agency, or it's not a Mendocino Planning and Building Services agency, so I do not know how they record or operate their meeting, but they do take minutes.
Meetings are currently not recorded.
And any communications to that board would be in advance? What are the, I know we have certain requirements for ours, and I'm asking board member Spiel, who is actually on the community services district. How do you guys usually take your comments from public?
People can come in person and give their comments, or I believe you can go by or call the MCCSD or email the MCCSD and get your comments in that way.
Okay.
So I can add a little bit, if I may?
You are the chair.
Yes.
Please take the stand, if you would.
Thank
Full name for the record.
you. Danik Murphy, Chair of the Mendocino City Community Services District. We indeed have a board meeting tomorrow in this very room at 5 p.m. Agenda item 5 is a public hearing and discussion not about tents. The district does not care about tents. I know you do very much so, but we care about water use and sewer use. And so that's what the discussion will be about. A little bit about our policies, and then the question for us is expanded use within the town, in particular with restaurants. And so that's what we'll be discussing. That's what we'll be hearing from residents and businesses in town, their concerns, their questions, their recommendations, et cetera. So it's a public hearing. We invite everybody to come. We look forward to hearing what people have to say. We will be recording this meeting, an audio recording only, so that we can capture everything, a record of what people say. And that will be made available on our website after the meeting. Any questions?
Thank you for being here and sharing with us, I appreciate it. From one body to another. All right, so that wraps up our correspondence, correct?
Did Mr. Cavanaugh want to talk to us?
We're gonna do that when we get to public expression. So Director Krog, thank you. Enjoy this review.
Thank you.
Item number 6, report from the chair. I really have nothing to report, other than thank you for being here, public and board members. You're a volunteer board, it takes no shortage of these. Public expression. So this is, we recommend participation. This is for items not on the agenda. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person, not 3 minutes per person. Limited matters under the jurisdiction of the review board that are not on today's meeting agenda. So is there someone from the public wishing to address us? Podium, please. State your name for the record.
My name is John Kavanaugh. Have you read it? Would you like me to just answer questions, or just should I summarize the letter for public expression?
Summarize it and give us any additional thoughts you might have, and then we can respond if need be.
Okay. My name is John Kavanaugh, and my family and I are currently building a new home on the west of Albany Street. Over the past 2 years, we've become very familiar with the Mendocino Town Plan, the design guidelines, and the design approval process. However, I wanted to speak because I was a bit confused by general process procedures at recent MHRD meetings. As an example, the board approved a request for new aluminum-clad doors on the Mendocino Hotel. This approval was in spite of design guidelines, which expressly state that imitation or synthetic material such as aluminum, quote, shall be deemed inappropriate, end quote, and that metal and plastic door or window frames, quote, are not acceptable, end quote. So in my correspondence, I discuss my concerns about specific justifications used to bypass these guidelines. However, I just have 3 minutes, so I'll jump on to the focus on my larger concerns about straying too far from the process. So I understand that each application is different and that the board can use their discretion when making decisions. But when this discretion deviates too far from fundamental guidelines, it erodes a transparent and equitable approval process. The existence of clearly written standards and their enforcement is the hallmark of the historical review process I was afforded as an applicant. However, I'm concerned that this process gets undermined when fundamental guidelines are dismissed, new unwritten standards are being formulated sort of on the fly, and then I know they're not precedent, but they are being doled out on a case-by-case basis. So prior to granting the use of aluminum doors, more time should have been taken to gather information, invite public participation, and draft updated, clearly written guidelines before implementing these changes into the review process. Also, for these very same doors, the board did not enforce guidelines that require them to inspect photographs in order to ensure the hotel is, quote, in general accord with the appearance of structures built in Mendocino prior to 1900. This will result in modern style, single light patio doors that are out of harmony with a Category 1 historic land. So thank you for listening. I know being a board member isn't easy, and I want you to know that I'm grateful for your hard work, dedication. Thanks.
Thank you. Any more comments?
I would just say, Mr. Kavanaugh, I can only speak for myself, so I just got this tonight, so I'll come up with, I'd be happy to provide my reasoning, but it can only be for me, but.
Yeah, if you look at sort of, just to see our perspective,
Oh, yeah.
like the reasoning didn't make sense. And also I just want to point out, like, in that same Marvin catalog that they reference throughout their stuff, like there's all these case studies about these hotels, and there's stuff like, the creative team on the project was committed to maintaining as much as history as possible. Marvin was able to match original profiles of the windows by inspecting photos from the early 1900s. Like, how come our landmark isn't getting the same scrutiny, even though the guidelines call for it? And then the architect's up here saying, well, if I have to listen to you, basically, we're not going to fix these doors. So where's this story that's happening around the country for our landmark? It's not happening.
Thank you.
Well, I can only answer you. I mean, I think that you raise a lot of good points. I think it's a difficult thing to figure out how to maintain the historical town in a changing world where resources are constantly changing. I think in that particular case, we were dealing with replacement of stuff that already did not meet historical standard. They're failing steel windows of a one-light variety. The aluminum clad will be an upgrade from that, certainly. They're not super visible on the facade. Yes, they are visible from Main Street, but most folks, in my view, will not really be able to tell the difference between that and a wooden window. Because you could buy that same profile, single one-light profile in wood, just hear me out, and replace them in wood without even us having anything to say about that. Unfortunately, those wood windows would most likely be made of Doug fir, giving the homeowner a very short lifespan for those windows and doors. Otherwise, they would be custom built out of redwood. I've been down this road a lot, and for my part, I understand your frustration about how those guidelines should be clear, but unfortunately, things do have to be addressed sometimes on a case-by-case basis, because each individual case is different in construction. And that's why I think the decision was made in this case, because the front facade, we did insist on using wooden doors and windows in that location, but felt that it was okay to use more durable, less expensive material along the sides of that building. That was my logic that went into it.
Okay, I don't want to have a full back and forth here. I think he's made his case, and I, for the record, would like to say that I did vote against that. So it did pass, but I did not agree with it, so.
And I've restored houses and painted houses on Martha's Vineyard for decades, and that same wood, it lasts over 100 years, so.
Okay.
I
Like I said, I don't want to have a whole back and forth, but thank you, appreciate
Thank you.
your views. Anyone else wishing to make a comment on something that's not on the agenda?
Yes, I do.
State your name for record, please.
Bill Zimmer. I would like to know in this process of putting together new policies perhaps regarding tents, if there's going to be any public input to that at some point. I urge that there should be.
I think you heard that what we're going to do is there will be a process. We do not know exactly what that is, what it looks like. But as with everything else, I'm sure the public will have a chance to give input before decisions are rendered.
If I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Please.
So there will be further discussion at both this hearing at the Mendocino Historical Review Board, as well as the Board of Supervisors, and there will be notice of that, and I will take note of your request to be notice of that for this hearing body.
Anyone else wishing to comment on something on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna go to our consent calendar, which I believe we do not have, I'm sorry. Any other emails, information on the second, on the public expression?
No,
Okay,
I have confirmed that,
it was
and
under correspondence.
that's correct.
Okay. Consent calendar, we do not have any items, correct?
Correct.
Which brings us to our first public hearing item, MHRB 2023-014, and I believe board member Ron would like to make a declaration.
Yeah, I'm gonna recuse myself from this item, so I'll be waiting outside for you guys.
Okay, so this is, as I said, MHRB 2023-0014. It's request for removable barn door in addition to windows, the south elevation, this is, I'm sorry, located at 10546 Lansing Street. Addition windows to south elevation, replacement barn door to new entry. I'm not gonna go through all this because Mark Kleiser's gonna go through it, so I'll let you do it. Please.
Good evening, I'm Mark Kleiser, planner for this project. This is a project proposing several features to the structure located at 10546 Lansing Street, assessor parcel number 119-16031. The structure is the Pete Anderson House, which is a Category 1 structure, and Mendoza's Warehouse, which is the structure that is going to have these changes. That is a Category 2A structure. All the work is going to be occurring at the Mendoza Warehouse. So I will just take you through using here. So,
And actually, can I interrupt you for a second?
absolutely.
So help us all understand, one, category one is something that has had minimal exterior
Yes,
modifications.
correct.
So then there's 2 and 2A.
There's 2 and 2A, and
Can you help us understand what that means?
Yes.
do you have that?
Yes. So categories for 2 are historically important. A, construction date known or closely estimated, research in progress, architecture has been modified. B, there were a number of semi-bungalows built at about the same time, not main architecture, but historical by age and design in Mendocino. So that would not be discussing the warehouse.
Okay, so 2 and 2A are, 2 is historically significant and 2A has been modified?
Both have been, 2A has been modified. Item historical 1,
Is minimal modifications?
minor alterations in character with original architecture. 2A is architecture modified, research is in progress, which you have been given the spherical files online, and the construction date is known or closely estimated.
Okay. Clear as mud.
Both modified slightly.
Here's the question here. We have a memo from one of our former members, Kathleen Cameron, and there she says that the building is in a holding place. I don't know what that means. And could become a Category 1 structure. Do you have any thoughts on what she said there? Is that accurate? What are your views on that?
So there is an estimated date of construction of the warehouse. There, inside of the spherical files, there are documents about each building on this particular site. And there's records from the Sanford maps from 1909. There's also a record from the Parks and Recreations, I think it's the State Park and Recreations in the Sperico packet that discuss each one of the buildings, and it does talk about the warehouse. It does not state it's specifically as a categorical or a historically referenced 1, 2, 3, or 4 in those records, but it is in the Department of Park and Recreation's historical records at the state.
Well, I mean, I took a quick look at that, and it seems to be that the building is either built in 1898 or from 1898 to 1909, somewhere in that range, right?
So if,
But, you know, that's, to me, I mean, it's obviously a historic building. The question is anybody considering upgrading the designation from 2A to 1? Is there anybody working on that?
Is there even a process?
Whose process?
Is there a process?
Yeah, that's the question.
So let's have a presentation, we can get into these
Okay.
various pieces.
Right.
Okay, and I will continue then. So, work's going to be proposed on the south, east, and north elevations. So starting with the south elevation here, they're going to remove this exhausting barn door, and this is going to become 3 windows. There will be 9 double hung windows here with fixed windows over each one, and then there'll be a smaller fixed window in this location. On the east side, the barn door is being removed and replaced with a door, and there will be 2 fixed windows in this location. And then on the east side, which we don't have a diagram, but it is on page attachment I in your packets, they're going to be replacing the existing door, I'm sorry, that's attachment M in your packets. Replacing the shingle siding of the building at the west end with horizontal board to match the existing board here, and then the steel roof is going to be replaced with a black composite roof to match the rest of the roof around the structure.
In the packet, it says no change to west elevation. What is that? No change.
There is no change to west elevation.
Okay, so what was that one that you just said?
East.
This is the, this is the north elevation, I'm sorry, that I talked about, right here.
So they can replace the siding here with horizontal lap.
Okay, so there is no change to the west
No
elevation.
change to west elevation.
Okay. As I read what's been given to us, there's a window schedule. And the window schedule seems to indicate that there are proposed 12 double hung windows and also 12 fixed windows.
Yes.
Could you indicate where the fixed windows are going to be?
The fixed windows will be over each of the double hung windows. This is on the south elevation.
There's one that's to the left of it,
And then there's one smaller fixed window here.
and the
West.
2 on the other side.
On the east elevation, next to the door. Where the barn door was, there's going to be a door, and then the 2 fixed windows that is south of that door.
Okay, so those are the,
These are the 9 double.
I got it.
All right.
That concludes my presentation. I've got more questions. Does anyone have questions?
Yes?
Okay.
So out of those of us here, I'm the newest one on the board, one of the things that was mentioned was the change of use. Or the change of, that if these changes were approved, it would change the look from a use of warehouse to a look of retail. That was sort of suggested. In your experience, does the historical review board weigh in on, like in the inventory that we have, the historical structures, do we try to keep
The use.
residential as residential, or, is that part of the,
No, you are reviewing only the exterior changes. The use is predicted by the zone. There are certain allowed uses that are principally that the owner can do, and then there are uses which may require a discretionary permit. But that will all go to the planning commission if they're proposing a use that requires a permit of any kind.
Okay,
what-
so
what
the
is-
the
what's the
use
current
difference, the use difference would be visual, like not, it would not be a permitted thing. It would be a visual difference, that the visually it'll look different than a warehouse, than a
Yeah,
exteriorly.
yeah, but the use that's happening inside is what will go to the planning commission if it requires a discretionary use. If it's an allowed use, then it won't.
And it's currently zoned as,
Mixed use, yes.
what?
If I may, through the chair, discretionary permits are always referred to the board. So anytime that there is a use permit that's going to be presented to the planning commission or a coastal development permit, that will be referred to you as a matters from staff for you to have the opportunity to view that future change of use should that request be submitted to the planning and building services. So it may not be particularly in the review board's preview or role or responsibility, but it will be brought to your attention for your awareness and input and comments. And then staff will take it back and look at those designations that are allowed.
Right.
But it will be brought to your attention should the time come, but at this time, there is not one for any proposed change of use.
And previously, the historical review board hasn't been tasked with maintaining the exterior. Like if something looks like a school, would it be important for us to make sure that it stays looking like a school? Do you see what I mean? Like, or if a school was turned into a residence, like, is that, you know?
So I've been pondering this, and I think that it's really important to understand the role of the Mendocino Historical Review Board. What is the role? What is the intent? And what's the purpose of the Historical Review Board? And sometimes I get a little bit confused about it, but there's a really great depiction that I use, and that is in the zoning code about the Historical Preservation District for the town of Mendocino. It's 3 paragraphs, it's a lot of words, but it does talk about how the Board of Supervisors has the Historical Review Board appointed to represent a unique and outstanding example of early California architecture and town development associated with the redwood lumber industry along with the Mendocino coast in the last half of the 19th century. I have not memorized this 3 paragraphs to summarize it, but I think that really understanding that the purpose to preserve the historical goals under the guidelines, I think that it is, I'm not gonna say that we're not allowed to change uses, because we are allowed through review.
Right. But it's preserving the historical character.
Yes, so is it a character, is it a candy shop, or is it a bar? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm just using different examples to just kind of elaborate on that a little bit. The school, is the schoolhouse
Right.
allowed to be used as a different use, but should it still look like that historical
historical, yeah.
representation?
Yeah.
So, I think it's maybe a good time, the greatest way to answer that is to revisit the purpose and the intent of the historical goal.
I appreciate that, and I have read that, I just,
Yeah, I will just add that historically, this building was first used as a stable, and then that was in the late 1800s and early 1900s became a garage. So that's where it was at.
probably hasn't exteriorly changed that, what was mentioned in the, in the current, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, oh, I've got a few more questions about what's being planned here. I wanted to get information on the materials of the new windows and the doors that are being proposed. I think the windows, it says, item 11, all new window frames shall be made of wood. There's nothing about the doors.
I believe the doors are wood as well. I can change that condition of approval.
have to do that as well as I believe the applicant's gonna make a presentation at some point in the very future. Giving us the color of the body of the building.
Oh, and that is going to be white. That is going to be from the Off-White collection, Benjamin Moore Off-White collection, and it is going to be white.
Okay, so I think that also should be
That will-
incorporated here, right?
Yes, that is not conditions of
It
approval.
should be, so keep in mind,
Yeah.
if this is approved, first of all, we're missing a condition 10. I don't know why we have numbering. Seems like there's always something going on. There's no 10, so 9 should be identifying the body color, which is off-white from the Benjamin Moore off-white collection.
Mhm.
And number 11, I think, Holm is suggesting that all new window frames and doors shall be made of wood. Is that correct? Holm? Number 11,
Yeah,
all new window frames and doors shall be made from wood.
exactly, right.
So if we do approve this application, those conditions should be incorporated.
Very good, so that's number 9, then we'll speak to the Off-White
Body color,
body color, and then condition 10, right?
11, there's
11.
no 10.
There doesn't seem to be a 10.
So it goes 9, 11. Okay, so
I-
we'll change 11 to 10.
I think there's something in your software program that eliminates every condition number 10 for some reason.
So we'll change condition 11 to 10, and then we'll have that say that all new windows and doors shall be made of wood.
Yes. And maybe move 12 to 11. We're not even there yet.
We're not there, if I may through the chair. I have taken down that body to the off-white collection for number 9.
Mhm.
Number 10 will be correcting number 11 to number 10 and add where it says all new windows and doors, or all new window frames and doors shall be made of wood.
Yep.
And 12 will become 11.
Yes,
I have recorded that for future discussion when we get to that level.
sounds good. Holm? Any more questions of staff at this point?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then we have, I believe Sunny, or Sunny, I think your last name, Chancellor. For the applicant, we'd like to make an additional presentation.
Well, I don't know that I have much more to add. I think that the presentation of what we're doing is pretty clear. So I think that our intention was to do the doors and get in the application. So, yeah, just as you see it, that's really, I mean, if you have anything to say to me.
Got a question. Sorry, I wasn't able to be at the pre-site. It seems to me that okay, where am I? The window on the east side, the fixed window on the east side, that would be replacing so like the barn door would be replaced by the fixed door and the fixed window, right?
Yeah, well, the fixed windows are more kind of where this open wall area is.
So that one, of all the windows, that one seems like just, to me, it seems a little out of place. Like, like all the other ones are the, divided lights.
Yes, we prefer Jimmy Williams.
Yeah, I mean, was
It's
there,
possible to do, for sure. I mean, it's the, like this window, it's just kind of echoing the existing there, and that one does have.
Yeah.
Mullions, so if that's something that
Is that something you'd be
important
open
you,
to?
then I don't see how it's a problem.
because I'm not an architect.
No, no, it's fine. I mean, it's just, it's the street frontage, so it's nice to have a clear view.
Yeah.
Without interruptions, but if it's more historical,
Yeah, that one, and since looking at the plans, I did find a couple other ones in town that are like that.
yeah, it's not unique for sure. Like, there are other
Yeah,
large single fixed.
but it is a really
windows.
cool building.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's, and so the corrugated roof is, my understanding is that was before a prior.
It's a mix at
thing?
the moment, that's.
Right, so the
One side is
south side
corrugated and
is,
the other
the south side is
shingle.
shingle, formerly corrugated, and the north side is corrugated, right?
Yeah, and the reference should be the other roof.
And I believe the original historical building was all shake, wood shingle, before it was corrugated too,
Yeah.
so.
I think shape isn't allowed anymore, as far as I'm
No,
sure.
but I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
all right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that? Okay.
You wanna explain what happened with the roof?
Sure.
I heard it was a kerfuffle.
Just one word. I believe it was the current applicant came forth and wanted to redo the roof, and the board, I was on it, I think Paul was on it. I think one of our members in the audience was on it. We said, no, it's gonna be maintained as a steel roof. And then the applicant went down to the planning counter, and unbeknownst to staff, they didn't check the records, and the applicant put forth a comp roof for the south side, which was administratively granted against the decision unbeknownst of the historic review board. And then it got finalized, and the staff determined that because it's there, it would be a hardship to have them tear it off and put it back the way it was agreed upon.
Okay.
Snap it. And then that. Did I get that right, Mr. Potash? So,
Okay.
Okay.
are we good with that again?
Well, I guess
Because we still have
I don't know
to,
if this is part of the discussion of the board, but I'll raise it now.
no, we're we're gonna take public expression, so do you wanna do this before I?
Okay,
So let's do public expression, then we can bring it back and have our discourse, does that work?
fine.
All right. So, thank you. Now we're gonna open this up to public expression. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. When you come to the podium, state your name for the record. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand. Mr. Zimmer?
Bill Zimmer. I think that the proposal is overkill. I think there's an opportunity to preserve a facade of a very historic building with very minor changes. For instance, I would suggest that this sliding door stay there, obviously a new one, but when a business is open, you open the door, and behind it you have another set of like French doors that reveal what's inside. They can be set back.
Mr.
So they
Zimmer?
can be
Thank
dining
you.
areas.
Can you address your comments to the board, please? Thank you.
If you're out here, what do you say?
Well, I know we have
Okay.
at least one person who has some hearing difficulties, so.
So if this were a sliding door, you could save this facade, very historic facade.
Thank you.
This isn't coming out of my.
No.
And so you could keep this look, because it is a warehouse, and this would be set back with French doors, and be very charming, and it could have all the shelter that a tent would give you, but you without all the hassle. Inside this wall, there are 4 to 6 window frames. And so there evidently were windows on that side before. I suggest that this many windows, whatever you're gonna do in there is gonna cook. Because they have a lot of windows. I live in town. I've got a south porch. It is so different than the rest of the environment.
Mr. Zimmer, your comments this way, please.
If I may through the chair, can the podium go back for recording purposes?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is the video cameras are showing where that is?
I'll just follow it. So, those are my comments. I think you can have your cake and eat it too in this case. But I think all those windows I would not agree to. I would agree to putting in the historic windows and to keeping this facade clean, maybe one window, so people can look in. I mean, this is a retail town. People can look. You have to be able to see. They can see down here that this is the traffic street. And if it's open, they can see through the door. This is a pocket door, by the way, so which it disappears. Then you got a nice entry. That's it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to make a comment on this?
I'll just make a
Please? State
John Kavanaugh.
Thank you.
I'll just make a comment that dovetails to what I previously said, is that the importance to make sure it's in general accord with, since it's a historic structure, what was going on pre-1900. And these are modern plate glass, so I know Board Member Tapler, during the Mendocino thing, kept saying, divided light, divided light, divided light, but it got lost somehow. And now it's these 1950s type patio doors on our Mendocino hotel. So I just don't want you to lose, again, what you just said about the importance of divided light being pre-1900. And yeah, you have a lot of discretion elsewhere, but I'd like you to keep that thought.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to make a comment? State your name for the record, please.
Simone Besides, I was just wondering if the lighting that's up here is going to disturb the neighbors that live at the Sally Neck structure. If that's going to be too bright for those people that live there. And also I was wondering, maybe Mr. can ask, or I can ask him, why did he drill a well? And what is the purpose of this building?
I'm not sure that has, I think that's probably a good question to raise tomorrow at the MCCSD meeting,
Mhm.
because that's definitely out of our purview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, for the record,
Yes.
could you please ask Simone to spell her last name?
P-I-S-I-A-S.
P-I-S-I-A-S. Thank you.
And I'd like to commit to the chair. I need to correct, the zoning district is commercial, it is not mixed use. Mixed use is on the other side of the street. So this is located all in Mendocino Commercial District.
The entire, I mean, it's supposed to look like that whole as well.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to make a comment? Seeing none, Planner Walden, we had a couple of emails, letters that came in regarding this. Can you please share those with us, the gist of them, without having to read them entirely?
So, yes, I can, Chair Roth. We received 3 different emails as well as 1 phone call. The gist of the emails is the concern of the preservation of the historical structure as a warehouse building. The topic of roofing material is the main, the windows, the change of the structure from what it's been historically throughout its life, and the proposed changes, and to remember the integrity of the guidelines for Mendocino historical preservation. And then the discussion about the roofing has come up. And then we received 1 phone call. So the emails we received were Kathleen Cameron, which have been posted online and are in your review packets, Lee Edmondson, as well as Deirdre Lamb, all of them who I believe are past review board members. And then a phone call today from the Mendocino City Community Services District asking about the purpose of the change of use, the concern about water and sewer demands for the change of use, whereas there is no change of use proposed at this time, which we discussed earlier about what is the purpose of the building, and the purpose of this request is to make exterior alterations to an existing warehouse that's been used as warehouse and retail historically.
Thank you. All right. Bring this back to the board. You have to start discussion?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. I have some of the same concerns that were expressed by Kathleen Campbell in her memo to us, and Kathleen is a former member of the board. I certainly don't understand why so many windows are necessary. If there are windows, I agree that they should be with divided lights rather than being just fixed windows. I don't think they would be appropriate at all. I don't understand why we need to remove the barn doors. It seems to me that there are possible solutions to the barn door issues where we keep a barn door which is then moved out of the way, and then there's another door behind it. I think we have given awards to at least 2 buildings in town that have that sort of situation, and there may be more than that. So I think that's something we should certainly look at. I would like to try to maintain the look of this building as a barn to the extent possible. I think that it's our responsibility to try and do that. I mean, I can agree to some adaptation, but just a whole wall of windows like that, and then to remove the old barn doors entirely, I just can't see that. I think we need to reconsider that, or the applicant should reconsider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had the same concern that Lenny had about the big sheet of windows and light in the shining into the other buildings across the street. I've actually been in that situation where it happened and it was not done. So I'm kind of concerned about that. It's difficult to comment without knowing what the usage is going to be.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I don't know whether a barn door is acceptable or not. I don't know what the usage is. But I'm kind of with home on that. On the roof, as you said, it's a snafu which may be straightened out. It would seem to me that the easiest way to straighten out is to make it all shingle, because that other side and the other roofs are all shingle, and the roofs around in the other buildings are shingle. So I would be in favor of shingling the roof. But I'm not in favor of this big thing of windows, and I don't know what to say about the front because I have no idea what the usage is going to be.
And you say because it's talking about composition.
Yeah, not steel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul?
I think the usage is sort of not for us to, like, we should be maintaining the historical character of the building, but what goes on inside of it, if it goes with the use, if it goes with the zoning, I'm not sure I see that as being part of our thing. The one thing that I'll bring up as far as the historical character is literally these windows. Like it does, I know some of the comments were that, that it's an abomination, or that it's, flies in the face of the historical structures surrounding, and I don't see that. I'm certainly not an expert, but I see those windows literally in the, the fixed window above, and so I think that looks rather nice. Certainly, I believe all lighting exterior is required to be downward cast. The corrugated roof is a bummer, because corrugated roofs are neat, but I see your point about making it consistent, and that is what's consistent in the neighborhood. I would not support that fixed window, but I would be willing to support a divided light window in the front that matches the one in the other building. But I certainly am in the minority in this group.
Yeah, I just comment on the usage thing. I think it does matter because, I mean, if this is a warehouse, if it's going to stay as a warehouse, then we don't even have to discuss the windows. If it's going to be turned into a set of retail places, then it could be a hardship to not have some windows in the front.
So if it was going to be a warehouse,
Yeah.
do you think it's the role of this body to say your warehouse can't have windows?
No, but I do think we have a responsibility to not only consider the historical view of the building, but also any hardship any business person who's trying to do something for I think you have to use both those things.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's difficult, because we don't know what the usage is gonna
I think it would be useful to get some indication of what the plans are for this building, and we haven't received that at all. But in addition, I do think that it's our responsibility to try to maintain the character of the building to the extent possible. And the projected plans that I see destroy the character of the building. And so I have a hard time with having so many windows on that south wall. And certainly, I think the barn door should remain on the front of the building. And I think there are options there that allow that to be an entrance, but still have the barn door as part of that entrance. And in terms of the attached building, I don't think that influences the look of the barn at all. And so I think we can decide what to do with the windows. They certainly need to be divided windows or double hung windows, certainly not fixed windows. I don't think that's appropriate at all.
What do you think about the fact that there was historically windows? I thought that was interesting. I mean, I haven't, from the outside, it doesn't look like it, but.
They're, what,
They're framed, Mr. Zimmer was saying that inside is a former framed-in window that exists, that may have existed in the past. I think, can I see that?
I don't know.
Yeah. As far as I know, it's looked like that for a very, very long time.
We have,
Can I peek at
if I may, through the chair.
Yeah.
We have 3 different pictorial books that are for the record for the historical review preservation. And so, we can flip, we can pause, to allow everybody the opportunity to look at the pictures. If we wanted, I don't want to give all 4 books to one person and take up time for everybody to be able to look through the books.
Right.
Whatever you would like to do.
Okay, I'm gonna weigh in real quick.
I don't need to. Thank you.
I'm of 2 different minds. One is, change is inevitable. That being said, I think that we're held as the gatekeepers of ensuring that we maintain our historic preservation status. And our job is to make sure that we keep the essence of what the Mendocino historic town is. I totally get that a reuse of this for something like retail makes some business sense, but I don't feel like we should be giving up on a building that, what I read through with Kathleen Cameron's comments was that the only reason this is not a category 1 is because more research had to be done, but it surely hasn't been altered enough to call it anything else, except for lack of research. I think the south side windows are just way too much. I love the concept of keeping both, not just one, but both barn doors. And I think that could be integrated into design. And I love, as Bill Zimmer brought up, doing a little more research to find out, maybe through the books, maybe the internal framing, if there truly were windows on that south side, and incorporating the original windows, if they truly are, into a future design. So, my feeling is, I think we have enough concern here where I would be interested in continuing the application, to have it come back with a redesign of the comments that we've been given to the applicant about maintaining the barn doors. I'm a little upset about the whole roof situation, but I can get past that. But I just, all the windows on the south side just totally change the character of the building, and I can't do that. At least not with a conceptual redesign to maintain what it is that is there now, so we have that remembrance, but still, and we can't base the exterior design upon the use of it. That's not our venue. But I think we can say, if you want to do retail, maybe something on the, correct, on the east side, so you could see in, divided, of course, for window, barn doors kept. And the south side, I don't particularly need to have windows, but it'd be interesting to look and see what originally was there, and what was framed in. So, my 2 cents.
Well, certainly, I mean, right now, they're proposing a double row of windows. Certainly, a double row is not necessary.
No, and
I
I
mean,
think,
we're not talking about 2 floors here, are we?
Who knows? We have no idea what's going to be built
Yeah,
inside.
right.
and the other thing, and this is something that, and I see too many buildings that are illuminated 24/7. So if this is approved, I would like to add a condition that the interior lights be put on. If they're not turned off after business, they're put on a motion detector and not kept on 24/7.
I agree with you that we should ask the applicant to come back, having heard our views and concerns, and see if they can respond to some of those with a new design.
I think we're fairly unanimous that we don't like the windows on the south side.
Yeah.
I don't know where we are on the
Not
roof.
against this, I'm not against the windows.
You know, oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you said.
And I'd like to see what the original
I think
design
I
is.
think it's an aesthetic
I would call that
choice.
remark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's an aesthetic choice, much like these.
Um,
So I guess if
Yeah, but this is a different building. I
It
mean,
is.
you know.
Yeah.
I don't think we
No,
can-
I thought we were unanimous on that or not, that's okay.
So, at this point, is there a motion perhaps to continue this item?
I'll make a motion for the applicant to come back.
Do we need to do a date certain? Does the applicant want a date certain?
I mean, I think that we could make some proposed provisions, but it need to be like a monthly meeting.
We do, but you're not gonna be able to make it for the November because the turnaround time's too tight.
That's fine, so.
December? Do we have a December meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, December.
Does that give you enough time to work out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it makes sense for me to speak additionally at this point, or just continue by returning in December.
That's up to you.
Um,
If you wanna make some comment, you're welcome to. Is that-
Yeah, just briefly,
From the podium, please.
yeah, I would just say that, you know, we talked about keeping the barn door, but this barn door is an interior slider, so if you're keeping it there, then you can't have windows, because you open the barn door and it'll cover your windows. And you're having, you know, ingress of weather, you know, like you have to either be open fully, like it is currently, but if you want it to be weather sealed, interior space, then having the barn door with additional doors behind would be very difficult to deal with moisture ingress and weather. So that was one reason why we decided to move away from having the barn door remaining. Because if it were an outdoor slider, it'd be easy enough to do because you slide it open and then you have your
But
second set
I
of doors
think
behind.
even if you were to keep the barn door and put it on the exterior, that'd be better than just eliminating the whole thing.
That wouldn't be keeping with historical element either.
It would be a lot closer.
I mean, because I was trying to keep this, because this is the same type of inset entryway, so I was trying to keep the theme and the mood of the additional side. Also, these windows, admittedly, there's a lot of windows, but we do want some natural light in there. So how far away from this can we go and make you comfortable would be the question I'd like to ask,
The
because
question back would be why do
if
we
I
have
just
to like?
remove all the low windows but keep the upper windows so that we get natural light, would that be enough? Or do we need to remove a full bank of windows?
I think do a little bit of research and see what's on the inside of the building, what's framed. Try to
Certainly look at that.
try to incorporate that, but I mean, you're kind of hearing from us that that's probably too much, so maybe just the higher ones might be, again, take a look and see what the inside tells you.
Yeah, I guess I just want to make sure I understand your intent so that when I come back in December, I'm not off on another tangent that you guys also don't like.
I mean, I think when you say you need natural light, and my question would be why, if you don't know what the usage of the building is.
Well, it's a commercial space, so
It's a
I don't know
commercial
what the
space,
use is
and that's
gonna
where-
be, but I'd like to see it be usable for many uses, ideally. You know, I mean, if you're future-proofing a building, maybe it's a dance studio, maybe it's a retail space, maybe it's, I don't know. But, you know, opening up the possibility is good for our community, I think.
So we have a motion to continue on the table?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
To come back with a revised design based on the discussion that we've had here and the concerns that we've expressed, particularly with regard to the windows and the maintenance of barn doors.
Just to get one item off the table, can we agree on the roof going back to shingles?
On the what?
The roof. I mean, if we can't, but I mean, it would take one item off the discussion for the continuance.
No, the whole thing has to come back, so.
Okay.
We can't approve it piecemeal. But we can give them direction. So is there a second on that motion to continue to December 4th?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay.
Who made the motion?
Home.
Home, thank you. And before we vote, I need to pause to take my notes to make sure that I have it correct as to what the board is looking for the continuance, specifically for the motion.
So it's a continuation to come back with a redesign off of the discussion we had this evening, which would, the highlights I think were to try to maintain the barn doors, maybe perhaps fewer windows on the south side. Go in and see from the prior architecture what framing might have been done on the inside to do in historical preservation. And maybe staff, maybe I can pop into your office and borrow those books and see if I can find some pictures.
And divided lights on the east window.
No fixed lights, all divided.
Or, you know, a suggestion that the east fixed window would be divided.
Well, if
Or
there's a
in
barn
keeping.
door, it wouldn't even make sense.
Unless-
Sorry,
Yeah.
all equally important items, so I don't know what was just said.
I was commenting on the window. But
And
the applicant was saying that if that's also with the barn doors, but I think we just wanna have that as the comment, and the
Is it-
design will have to be,
Yeah, so there won't be fixed windows, but there will be divided windows.
Right.
so I think the other comment was already made about
Okay, so before we take a vote, I wanted to make sure that I understood the direction from the board for the continuance, like what the actual motion is on the table, because there's been a lot of things discussed. And while I was getting confirmation, the applicant did have further input, is that open or not? I don't want to,
It's a design consideration, it's gonna have to be worked out by the designer.
so if they don't, okay,
I think the intent is, do your best to maintain the barn doors, maybe fewer windows on the south side, and any windows that are in there are divided.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know what your problem is here. I mean, I think it's clear what we're asking for, and it's up to the applicant to come back with a design that responds to our concerns, and then we'll take a look at it next time.
so I just, for the record, am wanting to make sure that I have your specific concerns so that when you write the action letter to our client tomorrow, and then allow them to be able to ask the questions and make sure, and while I was getting confirmation on that, the applicant did have a comment, and I don't know what that was, and it's all equally important. So I just want to make sure
The
that I'm
comment,
getting the motion correct from,
the comment from the applicant was a statement that it doesn't matter what you do on the front if you have the barn door, because it's gonna cover the front windows. But again, that's the design concern for the applicant, that's not ours.
okay, so I am ready to take a vote. Home, Kaplan,
Aye.
Sanders,
No, I think we should add the roofing as well. It just, you've given lots of other advice, I don't know why we don't do that.
Would the motion maker wanna say something about the roof?
Fine, I'm willing to include the roofing shingles also.
The second is happy with that as well.
Then in that case, I'd change my vote to yes. I want to get something out of the way.
Yeah, I get it.
You know.
So Saunders, aye, with the modification to add the roofing?
With the modification of adding roofing,
To
yes.
shingles, yeah.
And Madrigal is yes, and Roth.
Yes.
So 4 with Ishvi absent by recusing himself. We have approved continuance to a date certain of December 12th.
Or,
Sorry, December 4th of this year to allow the applicant time to come back with design considerations.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
all right. Do you guys wanna get this free or should I get it? I'll get it. All right, we're closing that one, thank you for your time. And we're gonna go to our last item in a moment. Actually got 3 short. All right, are we back? Back in session. That we can actually get a decent hour here. Item number 10, right? Matters, I know, matters from board members,
I have one idea.
please.
I think we should consider having one board seat be an at-large seat for people who own property in the district but may not reside in the district.
So,
Yeah.
having previously served on a city council in an incorporated area, we weren't allowed to do that because of, like, state legislature decides how the seats are done. I don't know that that's the case in a special district.
Okay.
But I mean, there was some big effort to try to get that to happen, and we were unsuccessful, but
So
I don't know if the rules are the same.
past discussion, I think we have full discretion on what we want to do with our membership. Well, we put it forth to the board makes a decision. So we sent a letter, faced with, sometime when we only had 3 members. We had a long discussion and there was many opinions. And one of them was an at-large seat. Another one was we were limited to 2 3-year terms. So that was under discussion.
This was to increase the,
Yeah, and then there's also another thought, which was bringing on past board members on an as-needed basis to create a forum. That was fine, it's whittled down to something sent to the board, we never heard back from them. But that doesn't mean that we can't revisit that, so if we want to agendize that discussion, we can open it up again.
Well, like I said, my only thing would be, I think it'd be a good idea, because I think there's people who would be interested in serving on this board who may not live in the district, but may have talents and interests that would be good for the board, and I think that one seat that was allowed to be at large would not make things worse, so I would recommend we put it on the agenda, but
Anyone else want it on the agenda? Rehash discussion? New board members?
Well, we hashed it out fairly thoroughly before we got to where we are, so. Yeah, I'm willing to discuss it again.
do you think it's a good idea to have that, or?
Not particularly, no, based on the pushback we had before about people not living in town but having properties in town. And people who had businesses in town and not having residents in town. There was a lot of pushback. But, yeah, we can open it again, I don't have a problem with that.
What do our,
It was a lot.
what do our November, December agendas look like this far?
So our deadline for
November's
deadline for November has passed. December, I do not have an answer for that. And then I think that we'll have a decision, we always get a little bit foggy around our January MHRV hearing. So if we were gonna push anything further
have a discussion about this before we finalize the December agenda, and we can look at it, and if there's room, we can put it on?
So I think that might be a conflict. I think we need to have direction about what the board, so what I hear right now, if I may, is that, member Ohm is requesting further discussion for the board about the December, about ownership having one seat.
I think it's composition of board members.
Eligibility, eligibility for one seat on the board to be altered.
Just limited to that?
That's what I would say.
So I believe that we could put something like that on the agenda for you to further discuss at the December hearing easily enough.
Okay.
So any further discussion about that outside of the meeting would not be appropriate.
I was thinking about setting the agenda with staff. That's what my plan of thought was. But
Putting it on, he was just, I think he was just saying that it could be put on the agenda for December.
yes,
Absolutely.
and if we run too many items, then we can, I guess, we can always.
It could be January, it's not precedent.
I'd like to just ask a question to the board because it's new to me, is when the board has items they want to bring, have the board members ever provided anything specific in writing?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Dan?
You want me to give you wording for the agenda?
It's just
You
been.
will be
board members-
presenting that at that,
Yeah,
or
I think that's,
we'll add that to the agenda.
my only board comment, and I hate to reopen it, but I was very disappointed in the tent discussion, and I'm disappointed in the restaurant owners who don't seem to be able to consider anything other than the tent to make outside dining. The lady was here last time, had some suggestions, and nobody even bothered to, give her the time of day. So I thought the Board of Supervisors was going to add that into the message, but they did not. So I guess in terms of minutes, I would like to see the restaurant owners, when they come back, which they presumably will at some time, have considered more than just tents. Because it's kind of like, if you have a hammer, every problem's a nail. I mean, that's the only thing you seem to be able to think about. And there may be other ways to skin that cat that are less obtrusive.
Would you like that on the December hearing?
No, I don't. I just want it in the minutes that that comment was made. I don't want to open the tent thing again until, and I would like the building and planning to take that into consideration when we have our discussions about what the rule is going to be.
So you don't want the tent before the horse?
No.
Thank you.
Okay.
One more question.
Yeah.
Just kind of in light of what Kavanaugh was bringing up, I know we've gone around and around about clad windows and doors. I don't know if it's worth continuing to have that discussion, or if we feel like that discussion is settled and done.
Our response last time, you and I were
Maybe
the
with
subcommittee,
yeah,
and we, after hearing from architects and contractors, we decided on a case-by-case basis. This was our recommendation.
frankly, it was kind of impossible to get past the case-by-case basis. And, I know this isn't agendized to talk about today, but, there is conflicting as we
Right.
report, there's
Even about
conflicting things.
windows.
Right. Well, I think that the one point that Kavanaugh raises that I think is good is that consistency is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And
It is.
it's a difficult and tricky issue in a historical district like this, and so it might warrant to continue to talk about it until we come to some clarity. Rather, if there's time, I mean, it doesn't have to be like a pressing thing, but it might warrant putting it on the agenda again. Because I think he raises, valid points, even though I am a supporter of that, I think he raises some valid issues.
I think we can't let us be part of that.
So
Personally,
you think we just leave it?
I think we just leave it. Because
I think we
they
can have
really
to at this
long discussion in a subcommittee and it came
Yeah,
down to,
Like,
you can.
we tried to come up with recommendations, but we were told that we'd have to get a new coastal permit. It became so out of scope for what we were trying to change, because the concern is that we can't change the guidelines that were put forth,
Oh, why not?
before.
I mean, that's,
Is
that's
that-
something we
that's
should
just
be, that's
another-
like something we
that's
should be
just
pushing
another
against.
process.
Maybe that's what needs to be agendized. Why the guidelines from 1985 or whenever they are like held as
It's sort of
gospel.
our
Well, they're
constitution.
guidelines to start with, not
Yeah.
rules.
Right.
And I think the problem was, you know, if you look at wood windows, I think we're focused on the wrong thing, frankly, to start with, and it's the look of the window that counts, not whether it's made of wood or whether it's made of something else. It doesn't look like a historical window. And, you know, some people want it, wood windows with all bright red wood, other people would say ridiculous wood windows with something else, because we don't have a lot of growth.
Right.
And, you know, we went round and round and round, and you just can't please everybody. And the
Right.
guidelines are not, if you wrote guidelines that said old growth redwood, for example, you find yourself digging another hole, and you have to get out.
You could come up with a proposal, but I
Well,
Just so you know, you get a lot of-
my proposal is that we continue to hash it out, give it a half hour or an hour on the agenda, so that we can try to figure it out, but it doesn't sound like
I'm not willing to
There's-
support that right
all
now.
of us want to do that, so that's all right.
Not that I wouldn't ever be, but
Don't put it on either.
Any other members from the board?
Can we finish this up?
Any other member, no other? Okay. From staff, we have the, sign policy.
Mark Kleiser, here to discuss the memo from September 19th to the review board members. This is regarding the sign copy change exemption policy. So in June, we took notes about your reinterpretation of the previous policy from 2021, and we have put these into a new draft sign exemption policy. So under purpose and background in the new draft exemption policy, which should be in your packet, staff added language regarding what we heard as the reinterpretation of the guidance provided in the June 2021 memorandum. So this reinterpretation is as follows. When a business ceases or relocates, the previous approved sign permit remains valid and may be allowed to have the sign copy changed pursuant to the exemption in Mendocino County Code Section 20.760.040H. And a copy change to an existing permitted sign may be a copy change to any previously existing sign that was permitted in the same location on the property and is not limited to the most recently issued MHOB permit. Staff removed any reference to any conditions, so what this means is if there's a condition in the previous permit that says this sign is good for this business in this location only, that no longer is valid. We can change the sign pursuant to, again, Section H of 20.760.040. And due to the reinterpretation of this policy, copy changes now are being allowed on any previously permitted sign in the same location on the property, and staff has increased the review time for planning and building services to 72 hours. So if someone comes in and they propose a new sign for a permitted location, we have 72 hours to review and approve that sign.
Changed from,
yeah, what was it before?
Or whatever business was there before. Oh,
No,
Time.
what time did you have to return it by?
oh, we didn't. We didn't have, this was not a policy for us to interpret. We didn't have,
72 hours seems short, like,
73 business days?
They're not
Yeah.
reviewing very much, they're just gonna go back and look and see
Right.
if there was a sign in that location before.
okay, so there wasn't a time limit previously, but one is now being added.
what, if I may, Planner Waldman, was there a time limit?
Because it says increase the review time, so like previously you had to do it less than 72 hours presumably, but,
I think it's just gonna be over the counter, I think the previous.
oh, okay.
It will be over the counter. So-
Yeah, 72 hours
No.
later.
If I may, through the chair, it will not be over the counter because we will have to go pull our archives on the past permits and, it does say excluding weekends, and I think it would be safe to say business hours, or, 3 days,
Three
or
business days.
Yeah,
3 business days, or business hours,
Except the
Yeah.
holidays and blah, 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 yeah, 3 business days.
yes.
Yeah, good.
So what it would look like is if someone came in with a new sign proposal for a location that had a permitted sign, we would look at the old permit make sure it was valid, and then we would look at the existing sign and compare it to the newly proposed sign. Are the dimensions the same, are the colors the same?
And if it was,
And if
it
it was,
would, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And by over the counter, I mean, it will come to planning and building, and it won't obviously come back here.
For clarification, the colors don't have to be the same, they just have to be part of the historical palette of colors.
Correct, yes, same
So-
hue, the same, yeah.
They don't have to be,
Well, no.
so they're not being compared. I don't think that the colors should follow from one sign to the next, because a business might vary drastically in the color scheme that they want to have. So you're saying that color choices for a toy store are gonna follow for a high-end linen shop? That doesn't make any sense, as long as both sign copies are chosen from the historical palette of colors.
I don't think they need to be
They don't
historical
need to be
colors, but they can't be a metallic color or a fluorescent color.
Okay.
Something that's.
They don't need, but you're not looking at the previous sign that was in that location and saying this new sign, replacement sign, has to be of the same
So
colors.
this say similar in color, brightness, tone, and hue, fluorescent, metallic, iridescent, or otherwise modern color shall be avoided.
Exactly.
This is attachment A.
If I may, through the chair.
Yeah.
So the discussion that has gone on multiple times about this is the need for clarification about expediting sign copy reviews. And we have the zoning ordinance and the general plan that if we go away from the sign copy regulations that are exempt from NHRB, if we go away from that, we would be talking about an ordinance amendment that the director has talked about multiple times. We cannot change the regulations, we can make adjustments for things that are not in the zoning ordinance. So, there is a very clear outline on this memorandum on the draft policy that you're being presented today. At the top of the draft policy, that specifically states the sign copy standards. So similar color, size, design standards, similar in color. So if it is red and pink, we're gonna be looking at a past permit that has been approved by the board for those colors, signs, and verifying these 4 items that are on the draft policy.
So I think what's being asked is why do we need to have color in there? Why can't it be similar in design?
Because that would take an ordinance amendment at the larger level of amending the ordinance.
Or more clearly, why can't we just strike condition 2? Because condition 1 already says it confirms a sign, its size, design standards are already met in the chapter. And then number 2 is the one that says it's similar in color and design to the original sign.
Very
I think
good.
the problem is this whole reference to the original sign. And so there shouldn't be an original sign as long as the sign meets the standards. So if we could just strike number 2, I think this ordinance would work.
So it is important to understand that there is the zoning ordinance that is that is voted by the people, and there's a process for amending the zoning regulations.
Again,
Item 2 is part of the regulations, what you're saying.
Yes.
but item 2
So
is
to
covered in item 4.
remove 1 through 4
C3 is also.
is an amendment to the ordinance that would need to go through a pretty extensive ordinance amendment of Division 3 of the land use regulations.
And if we just stayed silent and didn't put that in here, we're not amending the ordinance, we're just,
Streamlining the process.
It just seems like number 1 already covers it.
well, 1 covers 2 and 3.
If I may, through the chair though, all those 4 items are directly from the zoning code. They are 760, number H.
So what you're saying is if we don't exactly say what that says, then we're not in compliance, we're doing something different.
Correct.
And that would
Well, we
be the amendment.
But we can ask staff to use their best discretion about what similar color means.
Could we say that as long as it meets the standard of any sign that has been issued in a district? So there's not reference to an original sign in that location, it's just Number two, that says it's similar in color and design to signs that have been allowed in the district.
I think
As
the problem
opposed
is,
to the
The
original
problem is
sign.
you're altering the ordinance anytime you do that.
I
I'm
think
just telling you,
that-
you're altering the ordinance. and you
if we're
can't-
not, if we're not lifting the same copy that's in the ordinance, we're saying something that's different.
So what does it take to change the ordinance?
An ordinance amendment of Division 3 for the town of Mendocino specifically, which would be rewriting the land use law for how this is done.
Why the whole law? Why not just that ordinance?
That's what.
You're looking at the
should
giant
change.
book, I'm just talking about one word, one
Yes.
ordinance.
Yes.
It's all one whole thing.
I think the wriggle room is in the word similar. We would rely on your discretion of what similar is. I think that's probably the.
I don't think we have a choice.
I just, again, I feel like we're just, our hands are cuffed by some ordinance, but
Yeah.
why? We own this county, this is our county, the board of supervisors work for us.
The
Why
problem
are
is,
we gonna go forward into the future, constantly going, well, we made a bad call in the past, and we're stuck with it for eternity, why?
Because
We're
it's not
wrong.
us, it's the, people who elect the board of supervisors and everybody else who does the ordinance. We are not an elected body.
It wasn't elected, it wasn't voted on by the people of the town of
It is
Mendocino.
voted on by the people who were elected by the people. but-
So what, so why
I'm
can't,
not gonna go into arguments.
why can't we go back to the board of supervisors and say, we want to see this ordinance change? Why? Why not?
So, I think this is an improvement, what's happened previously, and I would be in support of it with the change of the 3 business days. I hear your frustration, but I don't think, I would be willing to make a motion
so
to
this,
this effect.
so what you're saying is, this is better than where we're at, and if we wanna do more, we can do that, but let's at least get better than where we're at now.
I would like to get this done.
So is there a motion?
Yes, I would move that we approve this
Draft
update.
policy.
Yeah, draft policy with the change to the review time for planning and building services to 3 business days.
Is there a second? So first by Madrigal, second by Saunders.
Can I ask a question before we vote on this? I still don't, I understand that everybody's saying this just can't be done.
No, I it can be done, we said it's very, very difficult.
But what, I just wanna know what the process is to get something like this done. And it's not, is it that we go to, that the board of supervisors has to vote on it? That's the process?
I think you have to have a hearing and notification and publication.
Yes, they do that,
discussion.
they do that for every book, and they do that for every meeting of their supervisors.
It's a process that they would have to be willing to undertake.
So it would have to be, okay, go ahead, Jessica.
I'd just like to say that I don't have the,
Ordinance?
Go ahead.
I would just like to say that I don't know the exact process to get it on the agenda at the Board of Supervisors. This type of amendment would come from the Planning and Building Services. It would have to be something that is, I feel like the best way for me to answer your question is let me talk to the director and come back to you about how an ordinance amendment is gone from start to finish.
Okay.
There's multiple examples. The accessory dwelling unit in the coastal zone. There is, the last time that this was done was in 2017 for town of Mendocino. And that, I believe, started in 2014. And then planning and building services is only allowed a number of amendments per year. And I think we're all the way out to 2028, not a hard number for the record. So what I can do is I can come back with more specifics about how do we get this signed copy ordinance amendment on the table with the Board of Supervisors at a future meeting.
Perfect.
But I think the question would be, is that a priority? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
you may have, there may be other priorities, like,
yeah.
Beyond.
The question was, what's the
Right.
process, and let's get the question answered what the process is, and then,
Yeah.
you know, if we want to spend 3 years trying to take a similar act and make it something specific, then let's do it.
Or maybe if we fold it
Understand,
into-
understand the process.
Yeah.
And she's right, we should know what the process is.
I think, but thank you. I just would like to know what the process is, and then we can take it from there, because I think we're gonna run into this a lot.
Yeah, it's a good thing to know. I agree.
Okay.
So I will take that, as a request to just give a brief summary outline
Of the process as a whole, not specifically for this, but just the process.
just the ordinance amendment process,
Yes.
like, timeframes, I hear it.
Bodies.
So
Yeah,
right,
whatever the rules are. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So motion by Magical, second by Saunders. All in favor? Vocal? Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed?
I vote present. I have absolutely no interest in this question, sorry.
So is that an aye?
It was an
No, I think
abstain.
it's an abstain.
Mhm.
Abstain, got it. So 3 ayes with, capital,
Or 4
or,
ayes.
4 ayes
Two abstentions.
with capital
with an
abstaining.
abstain,
Okay.
to accept the draft policy with the correction of 3 business days.
No, for this one.
All right. Do we need a motion to adjourn or just declare it?
Home can do that. If they want a motion to adjourn, I think you're just making a motion.
Okay, I'm making a motion to adjourn.
He's walking out the door.
Okay. Anyone else second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
9:45, 8:45 we adjourn. Thank you.
So,